I'm Avipsa, and in this video session I'm going to talk about synonyms and antonyms. So as you are aware that there are three patterns in which synonyms and antonyms could be asked in the exam. The first, where you are required to find out the synonym and antonym with respect to a context, like in case of reading and comprehension passages. The second is when they are asked independently, where unfortunately you have no clue to arrive at the meaning. And the third pattern is when a collection of 4 or 5 words are given and you are required to choose a pair which are either closest in meaning, which in this case is synonyms, or the pair which are antonyms, or again similar in meanings, right? So in this particular video session we are going to primarily focus on the second pattern where the meaning of a word is asked independently. And the approach that we're going to use here is the root word approach. Before that, let's understand what is a root word. Well, a root word is the smallest unit of a word minus the prefix and the suffix of any given word. And usually most of the root words are of Greek and Latin origin. Now let's understand how we use the root word approach in arriving at the meaning of a word with the help of some example sentences. Let's now look at the first example. The first word here is indignant. Now because it is independently asked, you have no clue from which you can actually figure out the meaning of this word. But yes, the knowledge of root words here helps. So in the word indignant, there is a Latin root word which is dig. In this word indignant, there is a Latin root word which is dig. Now dig actually means in Latin, which is worthy of respect or pleased, worthy of respect and esteem. So that is dig. So let's first see what are the meanings of these words and then take into account the prefix. Now as you're all aware, the prefix here is in. Now in, as you would know, would actually show an opposition or an antonym. The meaning will actually be the antonym of the word, the root word, right? For example, capable, we say incapable, auspicious, inauspicious. So actually the presence of the word, the prefix in, denotes it's an antonym. So once we've identified the meaning of the root word dig, which means worthy of respect or high esteem, let's see what are the meanings of these words. The first one is terrified. Terrified means someone who's absolutely scared. Seditious. Seditious actually comes from the word sedition, which means a language or a conduct to reflect a rebellious act. When you're rebellious about something, then you display a seditious character. Then disgruntled. Disgruntled means being unhappy. When you're complaining, unhappy, displeased. Again, that's the key. And then helpful. Helpful definitely is a very positive word. So here, the dig conveys positivity. However, the presence of the prefix in gives it a negative meaning. So the closest out of the 4 in meaning to the word asked, that is indignant, is disgruntled, which is being unhappy, right? So that's how, using the root word, we can arrive at the meaning. So now let's understand this with some more examples. Let's use the root word approach to find the meaning of another word, which is convivial. Now convivial, there are 5 options here: terse, laconic, excited, genial and happy. So if you're aware of the root word, and if you've practiced enough of root words, you'll be very easily able to figure out the meaning and the root word here. As I talked about earlier, root word is the smallest unit, which is minus the prefix and the suffix, right? So in this case, it is viv. So viv is actually a Latin root word, which means life or a state of being alive. So let's see which of the following words here express the meaning closest to this root meaning that we have arrived at, right? First is terse. Terse means very short, precise, to the point. Second is laconic. Laconic also refers to being very precise and to the point. In other words, I can say that terse and laconic actually mean more or less the same. Being excited, I'm sure, needs no explanation. All of you know it's a state when you're extremely happy and in the highest of your emotions. Genial. Genial again refers to something that is conducive, that is friendly, and happy, of course, needs no explanation. So let's now see live, alive, combining with convivial, relating it to what the root word is. The closest of the 5 words here is actually genial. Okay, so genial, as you're also aware of the word congenial, right, which means friendly or which is conducive to life. So out of the options available here, we can say that genial is the closest in meaning to convivial or convivial, as they say. Let's now look at another example and find out the synonym of the word ebullient using the root word approach. Ebullient. Now here, if you're aware of the root word bull, which is actually neither Greek nor Latin, but it is an Indo-European root word, right? So, which actually means to boil up or to blow or to bubble, right? So we will try to see and relate which of the options can we relate to the root word here. So, distraught is again, it conveys a very negative feeling. Distraught actually means a state of anger. You've actually irritated somebody to the extent that he's now going insane. Seditious again is a state. It comes from the word sedition, which means a conduct which reflects a rebellious character or a rebellion. Lively again, something that's full of life or bubbling with life. So if you look at the root word bubble or blow, right? So lively conveys a very closer meaning to that. Now irascible is again a state of one who can get angry very easily. So that state is irascible. And melancholy actually means when you're gloomy, sad. So ebullient actually means a state of bubbling with life or very joyful. So the word that is closest in meaning to the word ebullient here is lively. Right? Now that we've discussed these synonyms, let's now take up a few example sentences to understand how can we use the root word approach to derive the antonyms. Let's look at this example word, which is germane. The germane, if you look at the word and if you can identify, if you have some knowledge of root words, you can see that there is a root word germ, which is a Latin root word germ, which means a vital part, a bud or a seed or something that's essential, right? So if you look at it, essential, relevant, if you look at the first option, relevant more or less looks like the meaning and not the antonym. So we have to find something which is closer in meaning to being irrelevant or something that is superficial and not so important. Bias is when you are inclined towards something typically. Tangential here, if you see, it actually refers to a superficial relevance, which means nearly irrelevant. Alien, something which is absolutely not related to this. And finally, dispassionate, which is not in context with the word at all. So someone who's not happy or passionate about anything. So here, if you look at the meaning, here the word which is closest to the antonym of the word that's been asked, that is germane, is tangential. So as I said, Knowledge of root words always helps, but at the same time, it is practically impossible to learn all the root words, but expose yourself to as many as possible. Let's take up another word and see how can we arrive at the antonym of that word. Right? So that is corroborate. Corroborate. If you're aware of the root word and if you've practiced enough to know about the different types of Latin and Greek root words, then you'll be very easily able to identify that. Here we have a root word which is orate. Orate is of Latin origin and it actually means to address, to announce, to speak, to declare, etc. Right? So when we're looking at an antonym, let's see in terms of meanings, if you're able to arrive at something which means exactly in contradiction to this meaning, right? So let's understand what that gainsay is. Also a new word for you maybe. So gainsay actually means to cover up or to contradict, to do not say openly or to contradict, to give a false statement. That is the meaning of gainsay. Accept is, of course, acceptance, you know that you agree to what is being said. Announce, again, announce looks like a synonym to the word corroborate, considering the root orate. And then again, claim is then when you demand for something. And divine means godly, right? Related to God. So if you're looking at the antonym, the word that is closest in opposite to the word orate is gainsay, where you not being open, where you're trying to contradict your own statement, where you're not declaring, right? So in this case, gainsay is the correct option. So that brings us to the end of this session.